View into etymology, how you can see the message inside of these words. When we deal with sun rays, we talking about Ra. The prefix Ra is even where you get the word radius, which is the circumference of a sphere. And we know that the sun is a sphere.
What they're doing is they turned the moon against us and had Draconians linked up Saturn's energy with the moon's energy. There's pyramids on the moon of Saturn, Titan. There's pyramids on Mars, and there's pyramids on the moon that they're not telling you about.
When we look at, we was just talking about the sun. I want to get back on the sun with you because we know that according to our ancestors, if I'm not mistaken, we are currently in a binary star system. And one of our sun, what they call the second sun, has been hidden because the planet was knocked off balance. And the way that we rotate today on this wobble hides the other sun. There was once two suns. One was electrical and one was magnetic. So it goes back to what the brother was saying about the electric energy as opposed to the magnetic energy. We want to reach balance, and that's where we get the word electromagnetic from, when the two balance each other out. And so when we look at the word magnetic, we know that the first two words is ma, talking about feminine energy, also ma'at, magnetic, So I'm gonna let the brother build on that for a minute.
Yeah, he hit the nail on the head with that one. And also, if you look at, some of the Star Wars films, the Sith, they shot their energy out and it was all electric El because they were followers of El, Saturn. When the Jedi used their force, they were using telekinesis, which is magnetic manipulation of objects in this universe, because they were tapped into Ma, the feminine energy of the universe.
And so when we talk about the feminine energy, we know we're dealing with the matrimony aspect. So when we talk about marriage, we talking about those first two letters, that Ma energy. So when we say two people together in holy matrimony, the opposite of that would be patrimony, which I don't think is a word, but the matriarch system is what we're dealing with, the mother system. The opposite of that would be the patriarch system, which the first two letters will be Pa, which means papa, or the masculine aspect, in which we know that when we deal with the Vatican, we're talking about the papacy, which is really talking about the patriarchs of Rome. Yep. And so when we deal with ancient Kemet, we know we're dealing with Ma'at, the original people who dealt with matrimony and the matrilineal system.
He definitely blessed you with that information, man. And another thing I would like to say is, when you look at these reptilian entities, okay, one thing that we all have to understand is, like I said, Saturn can be looked at as an evil, sadistic bastard, or Saturn can be looked at as a teacher who teaches you lessons. Well, one thing we also have to understand is we have reptilian draconian blood inside of us, because like I said in previous lectures, they created us to be a slave race on this planet. And even when you look at the word Draco, draconian, dragon. What is the dragon? The dragon is the dragon, the one who tried to drag on his tail, the one who dragged his tail because he was lazy. The draconians were lazy reptilians who wanted all the power and to have the humans do all the slave labor for them.
Now we're going to be doing more videos going into who the reptilians are, who the draconians are, the different species of grays, because all of these creatures come from the Ursa Major star system, which is the Draco star system. Also, a lot of these creatures come from the lost planet Maldek, which is not really a lost planet. What we call the asteroid belt is the remains of two planets that was once in our solar system, Maldek and Tiamat. There was a great war, or what they call Star Wars, or the Great War, that took place in our solar system. We're going to be delving into that real deep. And also, before we close out, I got some more questions for my brother, Rev G. Before we get out of here, I want you to touch on, you mentioned Saturn's moons. Like I know, we use the word moons, but what we're finding out today is that what we're looking at in the sky, what we call the rings of Saturn, is actually thousands of circling planetoids. So Saturn's rings, what we're finding out today, and you can do research on this, we'll put a few links in the description box for you. The rings of Saturn is actually a bunch of planetoids circling around Saturn, and it's some in a number of hundreds of different small planetoids rotating around Saturn, making the rings of Saturn. So we will get into that on different videos. There's so much to get into. I want my brother to build on Saturn's planetoids.
When you look at Saturn's planetoids, those, I believe there's 27. Saturn has 27 of them, and the ones that are on the outside of the ring, where the lucky ones are the ones destined not to become the ring, because the ring is actually an ice ring, okay? The planetoids that were destroyed destroyed after Saturn fell became encased in an ice prison. This is why our ancient Kemetic, ancient Atlantean ancestors, when they carved pictures of hell was a cold place, people. It was the ice rings of Saturn, and it was the hexagram on Saturn, completely cold and dry. Okay, so it is the actual complete opposite of what we've been taught in our lives. Okay, and also the whole blue devil theology. Okay, extremely cold and dry. Saturn is the real hell, especially for melanated people. That's why we don't resonate with cold weather as we do with warm tropical weather.
Excellent. Got another one for you. Touch a little bit more on reincarnation and how this technology is being used via our moon and Saturn, and pretty much a little bit of how it works. What is our soul? How can it be manipulated with the magnetism they're created with the HARP technology on the moon and the earth? And, you know, like you said, if our soul is magnetic, it can be manipulated. We want to understand the process of how this works, this Saturn's matrix reincarnation process.
I'm glad you asked that question. One thing we have to understand is everybody on this planet, our aura actually most of our auras has the same polarity charge. We're being sucked on this earth because there is an energy field inside of the earth that's magnetizing us to this flat plane. So that means that the magnetic polarity of our auras has to be the opposite of this earth's to be connected to this earth's. Positive goes with a negative, ladies and gentlemen.
So based on what you're saying on our magnetic aura being the opposite of the earth is the correct way to be. So that's kind of like when we see levitation, we know that people have conditioned their root chakra to be the same as earth's, which actually makes them levitate, showing you that there's energy there. Just like we see a rocket blasting its energy to go upwards also. So that does make perfect sense. Build on it a little bit more, brother.
See, now we're getting into, electromagnetism, what they're really trying to cover up. This whole rocket propelling technology is actually pretty primitive compared to our ancestors, because let's think about it like this. We are the earth. We're made of the same material the earth is. So if we match earth's magnetic polarity and we get on track with nature and we match that polarity, negative with negative or a positive with positive, we'll be able to repel and ascend with our ancestors when they come back for us. Okay, this is very deep information, very deep Kemetic, spiritual, metaphysic information that you guys are getting today. And this is very, very real. Okay, this energy can be tapped into. It can. We're going to leave a lot of links in the description of master teachers and actual people that are capable of levitation, and a lot of other people are capable of remembering their past lives as well. Because like I said, the moon is being controlled and manipulated to control and manipulate our moods. That's why they just took the N away and added the D. The moon controls the moods on this planet and the movement, okay? And the monetary system and the money. The MON goes back to the moon. The monatomic gold, okay, is gold that took away our connection with the sun and had us being sucked back into the moon. They're spraying monatomic gold in the atmosphere, which is harvesting our souls and having our souls be more susceptible to be sucked back into the moon Saturn matrix so we can be reincarnated back on this planet again. The monatomic gold, because it did away with our aura, with our magnetic aura energy, AU, the gold, the sun. Now we're mostly electrified, monetary, monatomic gold that's harvesting our souls back to the moon so we can be projected back on this planet. That's what they're doing with the chemtrails.
I just wrote a word down on the paper that I want you to touch on when we deal on that MO or that MON or that MOO prefix, which is related to the moon. And this word is really going to blow their mind. And I'm going to give you a minute to think about it in relation to that prefix. And the word is Moors. So I did hear that our Moorish ancestors did indeed do a lot of evil work under the moon energy.
Oh, yeah.
And that the ones that was elected to be Moors was working for a lot of that moon energy. So touch on that.
The Moors broke a lot of laws, and this is why they were punished by the Elohims, and this is why melanated people in America have suffered for more than 400 years, because, basically the same thing the Dracos did with the humans by becoming dragons. They wanted to drag their tails on the ground instead of picking themselves up and levitating and flying to higher dimensions. They were the dragons. They were lazy, okay? Our ancestors became lazy and created the Caucasoids and wanted the Caucasoids to do all the damn work for them, just like the the Dracos did with us. And so the ancestors from the Sirius star constellation punished us, okay, because we broke laws and we broke the Ark of the Covenant.
So that's what's up right there, man. One thing I wanted you to get on is when we talk about the Elohim and we talk about Saturn, which is El, and we want to give the positives and the negative because we know that the Elohim can be looked at as positive, right? Even though we have the El prefix.
Just because somebody was born under the sign of Capricorn or they have a lot of Saturn in their chart, that's not bad. People, every aspect has a positive and a negative. More planets can have more of a negative connotation than a positive, but it still has balance, people. Just like if you get an ass whooping, if your parent gives you an ass whooping, okay, we can look at that and say, oh, bad mama, bad daddy, how dare you beat your child? And then we can look at it as, shit, at least your child ain't gonna be out here robbing and raping individuals out in the streets because your child is gonna be disciplined. And if you look up astrology, Saturn rules discipline, people. And that's something that is being missed out in households and families today is discipline. And discipline is our whole structure of being.
So it goes back to what I was talking about with the brother earlier about the duality of everything and how the good existing within the bad and the bad within the good. And the example that I gave to the brother, like we always say, as above, so below. The continuum can be looked at in this example. We know that if you had two groups, if you had a so-called good group of 50 people and a so-called bad group of 50 people, we know that there will be some good people in the bad group and there will be some bad people in the good group. So we know that everything pretty much exists within everything to form this reality. What we looking at as evil is really the destructive force of nature. And the opposite of that, I guess, would be the constructive force. And that's the feminine and masculine we see. So what happened with humanity in a nutshell before we get out of here is based on literature and mythology. Throughout the years, European way of thinking, we've been taught to link the negative aspect or the destructive aspect to nature to entities such as Satan or this dragon and stuff like that. When really, if you look in the universe, for example, if we see the destruction of a planet, we would say that's evil. But really, that's just nature acting itself out in the destruction and construction process, just as the same way we see a building get demolished and a new better building gets built in its place.
Same thing is if I accidentally cut myself and a piece of my skin falls on the floor, you can look at that and say, damn, like, you know, I missed that piece of skin. But what you don't realize is the cells in your body are going to reconstruct another layer of skin. Okay, it's death and rebirth. And the universe is a living organism just like us. So the universe does the same thing. Everything works in cycles, and there can be no death without rebirth. Okay, that's what a lot of European ideology is scaring people into believe, that there actually is, you know, a dead end is with death, and that's impossible, people.
Exactly, because we are indeed infinite energy, and what we saying here today with all of this is that when we look at good and evil, we know that there can be no good without evil. Because if everything was good, then it wouldn't be good. It'll just be normal. Yep. So we know that good is good because we have something in comparison or contrast to that, which is showing you the duality right there, which would be good versus evil. So there's balance. One can't be too good or too evil. One must be balanced. And when we look at evil, we have to understand that we shouldn't be in fear of it like we've been taught to be. It's another force of nature, and there's a destructive force within yourself.
It's a very deep lecture. I appreciate all of our subscribers and everything. And I want people to be aware of future events to come and just things to do to start to prepare for that. A lot of women out there need to start practice having their babies in the house, and not going to the hospitals and being injected with all these bullshit inoculation shots and having their babies injected, which is going to put a time ticker on your baby and put a time ticker on yourself. If you get an injection, okay, my queens out there, if you get an injection with an inoculation shot, it's going to put a time ticker on your life as well. And it's going to inject you with future viruses to come, people. This is not a joke. It's not a game. We need to start waking up to this. We're already into 2016 in Saturnian time. So we are very close to the dollar becoming worthless, people. I just want you guys to be aware of that. You know, start to save up on natural resources, start to save up on weapons and ammunition, and start to get in touch with your ancestors, the ones who have passed on in the fourth dimension, who are counting on us. Our ancestors are counting on us to free them out of the fourth dimension, which is purgatory, so they can ascend in the black hole sun, which is known as the Stargate. So like I said, people, it was fun talking with you guys. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. It's the Chosen One, man. I'm out.